Hey, so good afternoon, 23. Again, good afternoon, 33.
Good
Good
afternoon po,
afternoon
sir.
po.
Good afternoon po.
Okay, so let's start. Our topic for today is we'll talk about the Holy Trinity of photography. So namely aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Now, before we start, I want you to rate yourself on how familiar you are with this three or the Holy Trinity of photography. Okay, so utilize the chat box in a scale of 1 to 10, how familiar you are, how skilled you are in the use of DSLR camera. 1 being no experience at all, 10 being expert in it. Go ahead. One, two, five, Charles. Okay, how about your familiarity with the Holy Trinity, the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO? Rate yourself again, 1 to 10. All right, thank you. So yung mga nagsagot ng 1, yung 1 mo, gawin natin yung 10 after this session. Okay ba yun? Parang networking lang eh. Yung 15K mo, gawin natin 15K ko. Okay, so I know this thing here doesn't have, it doesn't make sense yet to you guys, this chart here in front of you, but don't worry. As we go on, will have you very much familiar with this chart here. So parang ano pa, parang hieroglyphics pa yung tingin nyo dito, diba? Parang mga Egyptian writing. Parang hieroglyphics, wala kayong maintindihan. Pero as we proceed, you'll find it, you'll become expert, you'll be able to read this as we go on into this lesson. Okay, so let's discuss right away what is shutter speed. Okay. So basically it is the amount of time that a camera shutter remains open, exposing the camera sensor film to light. So there is a some sort of a curtain in our camera. So shutter speed is the amount of time that that particular curtain is open. Okay. So you can measure that in this particular numerical value. So it's fractions fractions of a second. So it can range from the fastest possible, which is I think 1 in 2,000 seconds, 1/2000 of a second, and it can range from 15 seconds or even 60 seconds in some camera. So yun yung range ng possible shutter speed that we can have. Then your function, I mean, the function of it is it freezes fast-moving subjects while a slower shutter speed creates a sense of motion. So fun fact, an average speed of our blink is 1/10 of a second. Okay. So 1/10 of a second can actually be an actual number of a shutter speed. Okay. So later we'll talk more about that. So here is an example of an image with a shutter speed of 1/500 of a second and 1.6 seconds. Okay, see the difference? We're able to capture freeze the time in the 1/500 of a second shutter speed, while in 1.6 second, weren't able to freeze the image. Okay, here's an extreme example of the demonstration of the power of shutter speed. Type in our chat box, what is the shutter speed that was used in capturing this image? Yes, 2,000 of a second. So meaning this image here is actually a moving or a functioning electric fan. But since we use the fastest possible shutter speed in our camera, we're able to freeze the LSE and we're able to see it as if it is not moving. Okay, so that's the power of a shutter speed. So here's another demonstration of shutter speed of 1/500th of a second. So as you can see, you can dissect this image here by taking a look into her fingers. The details is all there as if it is not moving. And of course, the fire, it's actually a moving subject, a fast moving subject, but because of uh, the shutter speed that we have, we're able to frozen it. And here is another, napabagal ng internet. One moment. I think I need to open the door para pumasok yung Wi-Fi. Pumasok. Before we proceed to ISO, let's analyze the logic behind the shutter speed and the amount of light that you will collect when the shutter speed is fast and slow. Okay. So when we come to think of it, if our shutter speed is fast, what is the tendency? What is the reaction of a very fast shutter speed to our image? Will it be brighter or darker? What do you think, Les? If our shutter speed is around 1/1000th of a second, okay, darker, correct. Because when you open the curtain or the shutter speed of a camera very fast, okay, the opportunity of light for to reach the sensor is of course a very short span of time. Imagine 1/1000th of a second. Yun lang yung opportunity na mag-open yung sensor. So therefore, very uh, low amount of light will reach the sensor. Okay. Now, for if it is more than 1 second, okay, if it's longer, the impact in the image, of course, it will become more brighter. Okay. Now let's proceed to ISO. Do you have any question before we proceed to the next question? None? All right. So now in ISO, this is the sensitivity of the camera's sensor to light. So a higher ISO allows for a better performance in low light, meaning if your ISO has a large number such as 1600, 3200, 6400, it will use all the possible light that it can use to reinforce the image. Okay. So common values of include 100, 200, 400, and so on. So doubling will with each increase. Increasing the ISO is useful in low light situation, that is in night photography, but it's essential to balance it with shutter speed and aperture settings to avoid overexposure and noise. So what we are avoiding is overexposure. Overexposure will happen if you use a very low ISO, very high ISO in a bright environment. For example, daytime sa oval, di ba? Um, 12 noon, then you use 3200 ISO. So your image will become washed out or it will be overexposed. You won't see anything. So here's an example of how to use ISO. Though we can consider that this might be during nighttime. And what we see here is there is a noise or this grain effect if you improperly use the ISO. So we use 16,000 ISO. Grabe ah. So of course, nagkaroon na siya ng grain effect. And since light bulb naman yung kinukuha naman ng picture nito, possible na the lowest possible ISO yung gamitin mo. So here's another demonstration of effect of increasing ISO in an image. So here we have 100 from 1600 ISO. Okay, so the gradual difference. The higher the ISO number, the more sensitive the sensor it is to light. Okay, so it will use all the possible lights in the surrounding to have a proper exposure to the image. Ito class, what is the ISO in this picture based on the information? Device information. Okay, 6400. I think that's the maximum ISO that my camera can reach. So it used the maximum ISO. So even though it uses the maximum ISO, it still has a uh, proper exposure because of the dark surrounding. So later class will balance all the picture. So if we have the shutter speed and the ISO, now we'll talk about the aperture. What is the missing variable? What do you think, Les, for us to balance the picture that we have? Kasi pag tatlo lang, mahirap i-balance. So for extreme condition, we'll also consider another variable, which is the actual environment of the picture that you want to take. So parang ano lang yan. Parang bookkeeping. Kailangan natin mag-balance later. Okay, now let's proceed to aperture. So if the the shutter speed is like, the blinking of your eye, okay? So imagine your eyelids are the curtain of your shutter speed. Now the aperture is the opening of the lens, which is when you compare it to your eyes, it's your, any guess? What is the aperture in our eyes following that type of logic? What part of our eyes dilate? Or ano yung lumalaki sa mata natin? Very good, pupil. So yes, it's our pupil. Ima na-notice nyo ba, class? Lumalaki yung pupil natin. Same concept of the aperture. So later we'll dig deep about that. So measured in f-stops. So control the size of lens opening through which light passes. But it also affects the depth of field in an image, or also known as the bokeh effect or bokeh. So common values in aperture includes yan, f-stop 1.4 or just simply 1.4 aperture, and so on and so forth. So 1.4 is, I think, majority of DSLR camera can reach. Yan ay siguro yung maximum widest capacity. For probably on most people, average user, 1.4 na yung lowest. Ito yung nakakalito class kasi the lowest the number, the bigger the opening of the lens. So wag kayo mako-confuse sa idea na yun. Kasi the lower the number of the aperture, the bigger the opening the lens, di ba? Counterintuitive. Kapag 20 yung aperture, napakaliit na lang ng opening ng lens na nun. Okay? So, ganun yung logic sa aperture. So, this is one of the challenging and confusing part in the Holy Trinity, the numbering and aperture. So, mnemonic device that we might use for us to properly use the correct aperture is the number of aperture is equal to the number of person or object that you want to take a picture with. What does it mean? For example, you want to take a portrait shot of someone. So ilan ba yung tao na pipicturean mo? Kung isa lang, malapit sa isa din yung aperture mo. So probably 1.4 will do, 1.8. Kung may handbag siya nakasama, probably you consider that as 0.5. So you can increase it to 1.8 and so on and so forth. Basta ang logic doon, the number of aperture is the number should be close to the number of object or person that you want to take a picture. Okay? So if 20 people or 15 people yung kukunan mo ng picture, ang aperture na pwede natin gamitin is close din doon sa number ng tao or number ng object na kukunan nyo. Okay, di ba? So, malamang yung iba sa inyo na may idea na sa photography, parang bago yung idea na yun sa inyo. Pero, if you follow that logic, you won't be confused on the aperture number. Okay? So, here is an example. So, our aperture or f-stop is 4 and 11. So, since based on our mnemonic, alam nyo ba yung word na mnemonic class? Mnemonic. Hindi demonic mnemonic. Mnemonic. Are you familiar with that? Okay, as a future educator, you should be able to use mnemonic in some of the ideas that okay, react nga kung familiar kayo dyan. Hindi ko nakita yung reaction niya. Sa mnemonic device. Mnemonic is, okay, pattern. Yes, correct. For example, yung placement nung solar system sa placement ng planet sa solar system natin, di ba? So, instead of memorizing it manually, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Shooting Mary, Jupiter, Saturn. So, yon, instead of memorizing it, yes, Roy G is an example of mnemonic device. You'll just memorize the sentence, my very ill-shading marriages at under 9 planet. Ayun, di ba? Kabisado mo na kagad. Yes, correct. So yung mnemonic natin doon is the number of aperture value is the number of object that you want to take a picture with. So following that logic, let's apply that to this one. So aperture f-stop 4 is 4. So probably 4 possible objects that you can see, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so at least close to 4. Now, if you want to capture more images, then increase also the aperture. So near 11. Near 11 din yung object na makukuha natin. Now, here is, okay, so if you want to capture a very wide landscape with a lot of objects in it, so might as well increase the number of the aperture value to 22 for around close to 20 objects that will fit in one picture. Okay, for example, this one. The aperture that we use is 1.8. So looking at this picture, the number of object or person that we focus is still close to 1.8. Isa nga lang yan, si Ma'am Reggie lang. So close to 1.8 if we want to achieve the bokeh effect or the blurry background effect. That's the bokeh effect. Yan, ito yung literal opening of the lens. So imagine nyo to na this is the actual lens. The lower the number in the aperture, the wider the opening of the lens and vice versa. And the opposite is true. Okay, this one. Yan. I-compare natin yan sa pag-dilate ng pupil natin. Diba? Notice, if we want to focus on someone, nagda-dilate yung mata natin. Especially kapag nakita mo yung ano mo, yung tao na interesado ka. Pag tiningnan mo siya, magdadilate yung mata mo. Meaning, sa kanya ka lang nakafocus, magbe-blurred yung everything else. So, magdadilate literal yung mata mo. So, same concept with the aperture. Pag normal lang, so ganyan lang kalit yung um, yes, they want to focus. They really need to lock in. Nangyayari yan kapag ano pag um, naka face to face mo yung taong gusto mo, yung crush mo. Okay? Magdadilate yung mata mo. Okay? So isa yon sa sign na may gusto sa'yo yung isang tao kapag naka face to face mo siya tapos nagdilate yung mata niya. Lumaki yung pupil. Ibig sabihin, bistado siya, may gusto siya sa'yo. Kasi sa'yo lang siya nakafocus. Nag-blurred yung buong background. Wala siyang ibang nakikita. Ikaw lang. So, nag-dilate yung mata niya. Yung nakafocus siya sa'yo. Okay, ganun yun. So, if you see someone, then nag-dilate yung mata nila, ibig sabihin, may gusto siya sa'yo. Nakafocus yung mata niya, yung attention niya. Dahil sa pupil, yun. Binisto siya ng pupil niya. So, that is the idea behind aperture and pupil, the connection. So, ito, so from hieroglyphics, Egyptian hieroglyphics, at least meron na kayong idea dito sa um, graph natin na to. So here is the red line here. We can say na ito yung mga team dark or team less light. Kasi sa aperture, again, the higher the number, the narrower the opening. Diba? So, the higher the number in aperture, mas maliit yung opening. Tendency, less light yung nakakapasok sa lens natin. So, team dark siya. Dito naman, sa shutter speed, sa sobrang bilis ng pag-open ng shutter niya, less light yung nakakapasok sa sensor. So, the faster the shutter speed, the less light also that it can collect, the less opportunity for the sensor to collect light. So, team dark din yung mga numbers na to. 1,000 of a second, 1,500 of a second, and so on. Now, sa ISO naman, the higher the number of the ISO, the more light, the more sensitive it is to light. Now, the lower the number, the less sensitive it is to light. Okay, so the lower number of ISO, the less light it will pass through. Okay, so pag mga daytime, di ba, mas mababang ISO yung gagamitin mo para hindi maging wash out yung image na kukunin mo. Yun lang naman ina-avoid natin kaya bakit natin to pinag-uusapan yung Holy Trinity of Photography to avoid over and under exposure. Now, yung to team dark Ito naman, dim light. So here, more light that it can collect. So sa aperture nga, the lower the number, the bigger the opening of the lens. Therefore, more opportunity to collect light. Okay? And in shutter speed, the longer the shutter is open, the more chances of light that the sensor can detect. So ito, 1/2 of a second. Ba, napakatagal yan. So more light. Okay, more light. So dim light sila. Ito naman, the ISO is the higher the number, the more sensitive it is to light. So we use this in night photography, okay, and environment that has a very low light, we increase the ISO. So tatlo yan. Aperture, shutter speed, then ISO. Now, mahirap i-balance yung tatlo, di ba? May butal. So, magdadagdag tayo ng isa pang variable, which is the actual environment that we want to take a picture with. Okay, so how we'll be able to do that? So if the environment is daytime, 12 noon, so meron na tayong isang light. So therefore, pipili tayo ng dalawang variable sa dark at isang variable sa light para dalawang light, dalawang dark para hindi over and underexpose yung image natin. Okay, so dito na papasok yung bookkeeping or yung pagbabalance natin doon sa dalawang light and dalawang dark na variables. Okay, so para walang butal, we add the variable of the actual environment, the environment that we will want to take a picture. Okay, so far so good. Do you follow, class? Before we proceed to more example. Yes, Charles?
Sir, may tanong po ako.
Yes.
Ito po bang tatlo, yung aperture, shutter speed, tsaka ISO? Na-edit po ba siya sa software or kailangan sa may hardware din?
Very good question. Sa hardware. Okay. So,
Mm.
post-production mo na siya may edit kung overexpose siya. Okay. So, color grading na yung bahala sa kanya kapag na-overexpose mo siya. So, you can still, pwede mo pa rin ma-salba yung mga overexposed images sa post-production. But for this three, sa hardware talaga siya. Okay. So, any more question? Okay, none. So, let's proceed to the okay, for example, this image here. The environment is dark. Okay. And 1/500 of a second is also dark. Okay. Kasi napakabilis niyan. So if the environment is already dark, then 1/500 of a second is dark also. Then we make sure that the aperture and the ISO, the two remaining variables, are both light. Okay? Are ano sila? Towards the lighter side. So yung f-stop 1.8 or aperture na 1.8 is a lighter aperture. Okay? Then we also add ISO 1600, which is another dim light or lighter aperture. So we already have two dark, the environment and the shutter speed. Then we add two dark and the two light, which is the aperture and ISO. So all in all, two dark, two light. So we're able to have an image that is properly exposed. So ganun lang naman, class, yung titingnan natin. Okay? So far, do you follow, class? All right. Now here's another example. Okay. So this image here is, let's examine the first variable, the environment. Okay. It's a daytime. So light siya, light. Now, let's examine the ISO. ISO 100 is dark. So may isa na tayong light, may isa na tayong dark. Now let's proceed to the aperture, the f-stop 5.6. So we can say na semi-neutral siya. Okay? It's not too big, it's not too wide the opening. Then we have um, the shutter speed of 320th of a second, which is, we can say na on a darker side, but still, it's not extreme. So, we balance it up. So, dalawang extreme dark, then extreme light, yung environment, then dalawang semi-neutral. So, we're able to achieve this. Kaya nga, you have to, um, it's really a skill na pagtitimplahin mo yung Holy Trinity ng photography, yung ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. Now, here's another example. Okay. So, this is a good example kasi more on extreme talaga siya. Uh, as you notice, it was taken 9:47 a.m. sa oval, 'di ba? So, light. Then, ang aperture natin is 1.8. So, light din siya kasi napakalaki ng opening ng 1.8. So, the remaining two variable should be on the dark side. The 1/640th of a second is dark. Okay? 100 ISO is dark also. So we're able to achieve a properly exposed image because we balance those four variables. Okay, so far so good, class. Okay. Now let's proceed to another example. Ito. More on ano siya. My neutrality involved here. So what aperture is 4, f-stop 4. So we can say that bright to semi-neutral. Okay. Then ISO 400, dark then to semi-neutral. Then 1.160th of a second. Okay, dark then to semi-neutral. Then the environment itself, even though it's a nighttime, it's still um, a lot of lights involved. So we're still able to balance everything up. Okay, so hindi laging too extreme, too very dark, then too very light. Sometimes all those four variables are just neutral and you will still get the same output. It's still the same result. Okay, here is another example of uh, um yes, Axel, question.
Sir, yung dun po sa last picture po, kung wala pong ginamit na flash sa camera, magiging ganun pa rin po ba yung result niya? Kasi parang may flash po na ginamit po eh.
Okay, very good question. That is an additional variable that we need to consider. Okay. So trial and error kasi pagdating sa flash. But our target is really the manual. Okay. Manual capture without the flash. Yan, tama. So very good for noticing it. So it has a flash in it. Ito walang flash. Dito may flash. That is another variable to consider, that it's more on really a trial and error thing to add flash in it. Okay. But for the meantime, we'll just focus on the four variables. Okay. So we can say that that's the fifth variable, the flash, but most of the photographer are actually not using flash in how they capture. Okay, so you can survive without using flash. So this discussion here is the focus on photography without using light. Okay, so very good. I mean, without using flash. So very good for noticing that. Yes, it has light in it. It has a flash. Compulsory. Okay. Okay, no flash again. So ideally class, dapat walang flash yung mga example natin dito. Okay, may naligaw na isang may flash. So okay, let's try to dissect this image class to write the to balance this. So type 2 dark and type 2 light in this image. So separate those four variables, separating the lighter and the darker side. Okay, balance siya. So kayo naman yung maglagay. So format, ilagay nyo dark and ano yung dark doon? Is it the shutter speed or the aperture? And another two for dark, ano yun? Which is it the environment or the ISO? Come on. I-type nyo class sa chat box. Hello class, were you able to hear me? All right, very good. So ang aperture is light. Okay, perfect. Okay. There are settings in DSLR that will trigger the flash. Okay, so you can disable that. So yun yung tanong ni Charles. Ano yung compulsory dito sa flash? So you have an option to automatically trigger the flash or not. Pag nakaangat yung light niya, okay? Yung flash niya sa taas. So yeah, balance itong picture na to. And notice class, the aperture is 1.8 kasi, you know, our mnemonic device is we use the, ano siya, we can say na hindi pa neutral yung ISO 400. Pwede siyang semi-neutral pero more on the dark side pa rin siya. So tama pa din yung um, analogy ni Jasmer. Okay? Here's another example. Okay? Extreme yung shutter speed, 1 to 1000 of a second. So, super dark niyan. Then, super light din nitong 6400 na ISO natin. Therefore, our aperture is also light. And notice, nagkakaroon siya ng grain effect kasi sobra yung ISO natin. Sa loob kasi ng classroom to eh. So, doon sa loob, inside the classroom is also not very indoor environment is not too bright and not too dark. So nagkamali tayo ng ISO dito. That's why nagkaroon siya ng noise or grain effect. And we should use around 3200 ISO, okay, to adjust it to compensate for the indoor setting. Not too dark, not too bright. Okay, here's another dissection of balancing. So we have uh, 1.8 bright. We have 3,200 ISO bright. Then 1/250th of a second, it's still dark. Then the environment is dark. Though this image is still considered as underexposed. Okay, underexposed tong image na to kasi 1.8 lang talaga yung maximum na kaya aperture nung camera ko dito. So, we should increase the aperture here. And kasi pag tinaasan pa natin yung ISO, magkakaroon na siya ng grain effect to compensate for the nighttime. So here, class, you can also do this, manipulate the Holy Trinity in your mobile phone. So you can use your mobile phone, the Pro mode. Are you aware of that, class? That your phone have a Pro mode of, okay, so you can use that. So here's an extreme example of a uh, very long exposure of the shutter speed opening. So imagine 15 seconds naka-open yung shutter speed natin. Therefore, it is very bright. Okay? So, nasa ano to? Super extreme. 15 seconds naka-open yung shutter speed. Therefore, what will be the tendency? Is it uh, light, very light, dark, or very dark? Come on, chat in the chat box. What's the tendency of a 15 seconds na shutter speed? Light, very light, dark, or very dark? Come on, class. What's the tendency of a 15 seconds shutter speed? Light, very light. How about the others? Okay, so the answer is very light. Diba? So sobrang liwanag nun. Imagine 15 seconds, naka-open yung ano mo. So yung sensor mo nun, ano na, bulag na yung sensor mo nun kasi 15 seconds naka-open. And notice the aperture. It's also uh, wide. So it's also light. Light, very light. Yung may nadagdag na level, no? Yung ISO 50, is it dark or light? Light, very light, dark, very dark. Yung ISO 50. Okay. So if that's the case, what is the exposure of the environment that I am in this picture? Is it light, very light, dark, or very dark for you to achieve this image? Dark, dark. Actually, yes, it should be very dark to compensate for the 15 seconds shutter speed. You need to have a room that is almost pitch black. Okay? So, for you to achieve this effect, pumasok ka sa loob ng room na very dark. Okay? Almost pitch black, pero may ano pa rin naman, may konting light. Very dark, then set the aperture to the highest possible and the shutter speed to 15 seconds, pwedeng 20 seconds kung yun yung settings ng phone nyo. Kasi klase, ito yung output nyo. Isa to sa mga output nyo. Too extreme na sa shutter speed. Gagawa kayo ng, magtitake ka ng picture with 1/2000 of a second na shutter speed, then 15 seconds na shutter speed. Okay? So for you to achieve this, find a stable placement of your phone or your camera. Then, uh, set it to, ito yung settings, with 15-second shutter speed. Then, write you the first letter of your name for 15 seconds. Okay? 15 seconds. So, for you to be able to achieve this. So, ito yung gagawin nyo, class. Yung first letter ng first name nyo, ang gagawin yung long exposure sa shutter speed natin. Got it? So, sino ba yung may mahirap na first letter dito? V. Ay, yung V, napakadali lang ng Vanessa. A, yeah, A. So, pwede dalawang kamay. Yung isa, pa reverse V. Tapos yung isa pa horizontal. Pero make sure nakakausapin yung magulang nyo na sa ginagawa nyo, di ba? Mamaya magulat yung magulang nyo, nasa madilim na kwarto kayo, tapos may kandila kayo, tapos may binubulong-bulong kayo before 15 seconds, di ba? Baka isipin nila nagsasamon kayo ng kung ano. Yun. Though you have enough time to do this naman. So later, pag-usapan natin yan. So yun. Now let us have this. Okay, guess. Ito yung isang mali dito sa ano. Overexpose siya. So hanapin natin yung mali. Bakit siya na overexpose? Nakikita nyo ba yung mali kung bakit siya na overexpose, class? Type nyo. Analyze this picture, then check why it is overexposed. Following the balancing that we able to discuss a while ago. Bakit overexposed ito? Answer in a sentence. Come on, class. Why is it? The four variables. Study the four variables. The environment. Why is it overexposed? Okay, that's one. That's one way to say it. Kasi, kaya siya na overexpose. Okay, correct. Isa lang yung dark side dito. Tatlo yung light side. Environment, bright. 7:35 a.m. Oh. Then, the ISO, very bright. ISO, 1600. Then, the aperture, sobrang laki ng opening, 1.8. So, light, light, light. Isa lang yung dark, yung 250th of a second. So, kaya na overexpose siya. Now, here is the, si Sir Joey. Type there wag niyo munang i-enter Sabay-sabay tayo mag-enter. Para malaman natin kung sino yung hindi nakaka-follow. Type first in the chat box the ISO. Wag niyo munang i-enter. Wag niyo i-enter. The ISO that you think this image have. Okay? Then sabay-sabay na yung mag-enter. Yung possible ISO ng image na to. Possible ISO value ng image na to. Okay, thumbs up if you are all ready to press enter. Thumbs up. Okay, how about the others? Nag-iisip pa kayo? What's the possible ISO? Okay, when I say enter, sabay-sabay tayo mag-enter. What is the ISO of this image? Go, 1, 2, 3, enter. Okay, yung pinakamalapit yung correct. Wala namang extreme answer sa inyo. So, let's see. Okay, so it's the 100 kasi 9:31 AM sa oval. So very bright. So yun yung bright natin. Then 1.8 yung another bright natin ng aperture. So the last two remaining variables, the shutter speed and the ISO should be on the dark side or have two proper connections. So tama class, tama yung mga sagot nyo. And too dark, too light in this image. Now, here's another test. Okay, wag kayo muna magsasagot class ha. Same with type the possible ISO for this image. Don't press enter yet. Sabay-sabay kayo mag-enter. Thumbs up if you are ready. How about the others? What is the possible ISO of this image? Okay, I want everyone to answer. Okay, when I say enter, type the possible ISO for this image. 1, 2, 3, enter. Mhm, okay. So, yung mga nagsagot ng around, yan, 16232. Yon, very good. So, sa Claro and Recto ito, sa 6th floor, alam naman natin na napakadilim doon. So, the 100 ISO will not suffice in that environment. So, we'll increase the ISO to 3,200 or even 1.6, I think will do if you balance it with the shutter speed. Okay, so yes, grainy na siya kasi OA yung ISO dyan. So dapat nasa 1.6 lang, kaya naging grain na siya. So yung mga nagsagot ng mababang ISO, uh, please notice that is applicable to bright environment. If it's dark environment, we increase the ISO. Okay. Next is para may kamukha siya sa klase ng class. Type sagutin nyo na sa sa yung apat. Apat na sagutin nyo. Okay? Yung four variables, so gaya nung kanina, ilista nyo yung apat na variables. Kung ilan yung possible ISO niya, yung environment niya, ano ba, and yung shutter speed niya. So you might wonder, there's no way of knowing the shutter speed kasi hindi naman siya moving object. Pero if you come to think of it, diba, the environment and the bokeh effect, we're able to at least have an estimation of the remaining variable. Okay? So, i-type nyo sa chat box yung apat na variables kung sino doon yung dark and light with your with the estimated variables or figures of those three. Na-gets nyo ba, class? I'm sure you get it. I'm sure you got it. Okay, thumbs up if you are ready in balancing this image. Okay, not yet. Everyone is ready. Okay, so if you have your answer, enter it in our chat box to check it. Okay, very good. So that's the format that I'm looking for. ISO 100, shutter speed 1 to 150th of a second. Okay, yeah. Follow this correct format here. Axel, you put the 1 second first over the actual speed, then the second. So follow the format of Jasper. All right. So let's check. Yon. So, yan. Basta nag-dark kayo sa shutter speed, tama kayo. 1 and 8,000 of a second. Super dark naman nun. Ang pinakamalapit is 1,000 of a second, ISO 400. Okay, okay. Yes. Yeah, malapit na kay Jasper. Dark, light, and also, yeah, kay Axel din, malapit. 1/4 of a second. Light environment. Medyo light siya. Overexpose yung sa'yo, Diana. Kasi shutter speed light, aperture light, then light environment. So, overexpose siya. Hindi siya kakayanin ng ISO 200 to become properly exposed. So, 1/650th of a second ISO. Yon. So, Russell, very close. Yes, very close. So, light 100, 1/650th, 1.4. Okay, close then for Arian. How about the others, guys? Bakit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3? Very few lang yung nagsagot. Okay, so another one. I want everyone to answer, please. If you are confused, just tell me. Here, do the same thing in this image. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Okay, 7 lang yung nagsagot sa inyo. And the rest di nagsagot. So I want everyone to paste your answer in here. Following the format of Jasper, this one. And you can add 4 levels in the environment. So you can add very light, light, dark, very dark. So yung kanina, ang sagot talaga doon is since outdoor siya, it's very light. It should be very light. Kasi outdoor siya. Yung environment, very light. Thumbs up if you are done. Just one, three, okay. How about the others? Okay, may recitation na walang sagot ah. Okay, enter your answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, final na. Going once, going twice, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close. Ito lang lahat ng may sagot. Okay, mabul ka pa, Rosel. Okay, pwede pa yan. Mhm. So dalawa yung extreme natin, yung aperture and yung shutter speed. Yung ISO natin, nasa neutral. Kasi yung environment dito, class, hindi siya very light. Light lang siya. Kasi indoor to. Kahit daytime siya. Indoor lang siya. Kasi wala man naglalaro ng Jenga sa outdoor, di ba? So, ano pa rin siya? Light lang yung environment niya. So, isang very dark, then isang neutral. Isang very light, then isang neutral. Um, so, yun. Ang pinakamalapit ay very light, 1/1000 of a second. Yun yung dark mo. Aperture, 1. Ay, so Vanessa, malapit. Um, light, 1.8. Okay, pardon ulit. Light, okay. Alright, so wala namang extreme yung sagot sa inyo. So, you are all getting it. As long as balance na may mga sagot nyo. Wala namang tatlo, puro light, and isa lang dark. Okay, next. So, marami kayong variables na i-consider dito. The movement, the available light, the actual light. So, do the same thing. So, I'll give you time. Okay, thumbs up if you are done. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, enter. Okay. Okay. 800 ISO and then okay, let's check. Okay, may habol pa ba? Going once, going twice. And close. Lagi ka talagang humahabol ah. As if Vanessa pala yung kanina. Okay, here it is. Okay. Straightforward lang naman siya. Though, yeah, 1,500 to 5 second. Okay, very close, Jasper. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, hindi siya very dark. Dark lang siya. Kasi kinonsider natin yung apoy na hawak niya. 'Di ba? So we consider the lighting kahit na nighttime pa yan, kung mismong bombilya yung pipicturean mo, hindi siya nighttime. Okay? I mean, hindi siya very dark. Okay? It's just dark. Because we also need to consider the lighting. All right, very good. So you're able to okay, nasa range naman kayo. Wala namang extreme sa mga sagot nyo. So you are getting it. Last na to, last na. Yan. Okay, I'm sure you are all done, so you can paste your answer now. Okay. So let's check it. Okay. So yeah, grainy siya. So sobra yung ISO dito, 6.4. Though pwede na dyan yung 1.6 or even 3.2. Kasi may light naman yung image na Then, okay, understandable yung mga nagsagot na mataas na aperture because of discussion a while ago na the number of the variables in aperture is the number of object on screen. It's just that um, we still need to balance, okay? Kasi if we increase the aperture or we um, make it smaller, the opening in aperture, it'll become too dark already. So understandable yung nagsagot ng mataas na aperture, though that it can be considered as just one object here. All right. So now let's proceed to your very simple activity revolving the Holy Trinity. Are you ready, class? Do you have any questions before we proceed to your activity? Nan? Okay. So here is your activity by the template. So don't worry. You will just need to fill up the answer. Ano nangyari? Putol. Okay. Yan, bumalik na. Pero hindi ko pa na-navigate. Wait lang. Oh, close lahat. Wait lang, class. So here it is. Dito, mag-picture lang kayo ng um, 2 per category of ISO aperture and shutter speed on the opposite side of the spectrum. Okay? So ito yung template na susundan nyo. So for aperture 20, the 1.8 and 1.6. So pwedeng more than 1.6, pwedeng 3.2 to 6.4. Basta ito lang yung minimum sa high ISO. Dito naman is 100. Kung kaya nyo mas mababa sa 100, then go on. As long as hindi siya over or underexposed. So dito, 15 seconds. Pwedeng 20 seconds. And dito is 2,000 to 5 seconds. So ito yung template na susundan nyo. Okay? I'll paste this in RGC for you to follow. And do you have any question, class? Wala kayong tanong? Yung tanong na gusto nyong itanong? Kung
Sir, kailan po deadline po?
I knew it. 2 weeks pa naman. 2 weeks from now. So October 19 is the deadline for this activity. So you still have 2 weeks to answer it. Yes, Russell?
Sa cellphone po kasi sir, yung aperture po, wala po kasing indication ng number. So paano po yan?
Ano lang nakalagay?
Parang sir, yung medium na malapit tapos
Naka-pro mode ka na
bundok.
ba?
Opo.
Okay. So depende talaga siya sa cellphone. Okay. Yung pinakadulo. Idulo-dulo mo.
Okay po
Okay?
sir.
'Di ba may ano 'yan, may slider. So
Opo.
proceed to the extreme left to extreme right. So ganun.
Okay po
Got it?
sir. Salamat
Alright.
po.
Sige. Yes, Axel?
Sir, paano po yung mode of submission? Sa G Drive po ba or printed po?
Correct. Soft copy lang sa Google Drive. Paki-collect na lang sa ating secretary. And i-submit nyo lang sa akin is yung Google Drive. Okay? So, ganun lang. Soft copy lang siya. Any more question? So, you can use DSLR if you have one. You can borrow one or you can use your cell phone camera, the pro mode on your camera. So, pwede yun. Okay? So, no more question?
Sir, may tanong po si Baron sa chat.
Ay, okay. Sir, ni Paweba lang pusta, masundan lang po yung hinahanap, sir. Size lang po just. Yes, as long as hindi siya over and underexposed. Okay? All right. So, if you don't have any more question, you can now. Oh, by the way, class, yung sa 15 seconds exposure sa shutter speed, yung first letter ng first name. Yes, Eric?
Sir, pwede po mahingi yung PowerPoint po.
Oo. I-forward ko sa inyo.
Thank you po, sir.
Sige. If you don't have any more question, open your webcam for attendance purposes. First slide. Everyone, please open your webcam. Okay, one, two, first slide. 1, 2, 3, smile. Second slide. Ito, class. Okay. Ang bagal sa laptop. One, two, three, and smile. All right, that's it for today's session and see you on Tuesday. May face-to-face tayo sa Tuesday. Okay? So, see you all on Tuesday. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir.